It is a very full pit lane here at Monza as we get set for the first part of qualifying for the second endurance round of GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS. The Endurance Cup kicked off at Paul Ricard in April with a 6-hour race. It's 3 hours here. It's the last blast, if you like, before the teams head to the Blue Ribbon event, the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. And it's an interesting race, this. 3 mandatory pit stops that we will look forward to this afternoon when we go racing. It's been a busy circuit all weekend. It's busy this morning as well. Lots of fans here to see not just Ferrari or Lamborghini, but 10 different brands represented. 59 cars on the entry list. 58 made it through yesterday. We lost one Aston Martin after a sizable accident for Antoine Potti coming out of the Variante Ascari. It's been a busy morning as well, with McLaren's on and, as you can see, off track. So a bit of sweeping is going on before we get underway. David Addison and Joe Osborne trackside, looking forward to not only a really interesting race, Joe, this afternoon, but an intriguing qualifying session, because yesterday it was rather hard to get a proper read on, seeing that we have Mercedes-AMG looking so strong, other brands struggling a little bit on a circuit that you need high speed at.
Yeah, I totally agree. As we look at the Monza circuit, 5.793 kilometres, 11 turns, lots of overtaking opportunities, but when there's 58 cars on the grid, that qualifying that you alluded to being so important really is there. Interestingly, at Monza, this is our 13th visit here. Only twice the winner has come from pole position. We've actually had a lot of winners outside the top 10, but I really think you'd struggle to win this race anything outside the top 20. So that's where this qualifying is so crucial, split into 3 parts. So all drivers have their lap times combined to give the cars overall qualifying position.
And there is the 007 Aston Martin, victorious last year in the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. That was a car that seemed to struggle in the free practice period, but came alive in pre-qualifying. Now, does that suggest that the team was working through a different run plan early on in the day, or does it suggest that the balance of performance has been adjusted, because it will always be looked at to help the other brands after the domination of Mercedes-AMG? Well, 1 or 2 different teams sandbagging. Well, we might start to get a better read on it now, because yesterday you might be able to play the system a little bit. Now you can't. Now it's about speed, because you want to be up at the front of the grid. I know that sounds obvious, but here perhaps more than anyway, you want to be out of jeopardy into that first chicane.
Yeah, and the sand always seems to empty as a race weekend goes on, so the speed of the car naturally picks up. Lamborghini was very quick here last year, actually. Jordan Pepper in that car was the fastest man and did a 44.7. Pre-qualifying's fastest lap was a 46.0, so 1.3 seconds to find. The fuel load will make a big difference. The cars will only do about 30 minutes of running in this qualifying from start to finish across the 3 drivers, so it'll be about half fuel load, so that'll be 60 kilos. Track temperature 20 degrees lower than pre-qualifying yesterday afternoon as well.
Now, one other thing that we've been learning over the course of the weekend is about tyres. Of course, it's a new Pirelli tyre for this year, but the teams are saying that the degradation actually is pretty minimal. You can still do very good lap times towards the end of a stint, just as you can obviously at the start when you go onto a brand new set. So over the course of 45 to 50 minutes in the car during the race, the tyres are going to stand up pretty well. Yeah,
the attrition's low here. The surface of Monza so smooth, like an anatomy of a young child, and it really doesn't seem to take much out the tyres. The front left is the one that gets worked the hardest, and they may look to do the left side tyre in that extra 3rd pit stop, but I'll be surprised if many teams do it.
Now, that car was very rapid yesterday. Number 17 topped both sessions. Jules Gounon did the best time in both sessions as well for the Get Speed team. And they mean business this year, not only in terms of the drivers, Lukas Stoltz and Fabian Schiller joining Jules Gounon, but their entire processes have moved on as well. So last year they made the odd mistake during pit stops, or they were a little bit on the slower side. So what you now have is a much better drilled operation. So the processes, the off-track element of Get Speed, now mirroring what you see on track in terms of pace. So they've moved on quite a big step this year. The fast lane has been opened, and now the pit lane is opened. So we are in business. And Joe's made the point that we've got these 3 parts of qualifying. You take the times and you do this combined average across the 3 sessions. So when we get to Q2 and Q3, as you look at the Ceccato Team BMW, we're going to be talking about where a car is within this part, and equally where that puts it overall. So on the graphics that you're looking at, or will be looking at when times start to come through, that, as the session progresses, will be the grid position, if you like, the combined average, but we'll also be able to look at individual parts of qualifying. Having said all of that, take it with a small pinch of salt, because there are 3 cars that are already on a 10-place grid drop for speeding either under yellows or red flags, one of whom you kind of feel a bit sorry for. Ivan Klimenko yesterday, having been a real star in the Sprint Cup second race at Zandvoort, dropped it in the gravel, caused a red flag. This was in pre-qualifying. If you cause a red flag, you lose your best lap time. He was dragged out of the gravel, having lost his best lap time. He was then done for going so quickly back to the pits under the red flag that he's got a 10-place grid drop. So kind of kick a man when he's down, really.
Yeah, what's that meme where the guy puts the stick through the front spoke of his wheel and falls off and goes, why always me? And yeah, 160 kilometres an hour he was doing under the red flag, and it should be 80. So it was pretty nailed on the evidence.
It was on the high side, wasn't it?
Yes, and finally starting to see a few more tyres and wheels going on to cars. People at home may be going, we've got 15 minutes. That's not a lot of time to do a lap round here at Monza. 1 minute 45. You've got the outlap that goes away straight away out of that. But this Pirelli tyre, so peaky. The team's really commenting, yes, the deg is low, but the lap time is there on lap 1, possibly lap number 2. So to do that, you actually only need 4.5 minutes of this session to post it. The problem is you've got 57 other cars on the same thought process, and that's where it gets busy. So we're seeing what have we got at the moment, 18 cars on track, so not many have blinked yet. The problem for those guys on track is they'll be putting in their hot laps when these guys are on their out laps.
And it's a little bit like we've been seeing in the last couple of weekends of Sprint Cup, isn't it? They only get 10 minutes. Here it's 15 minutes to a part, so fractionally longer. But how often have we been looking at 3-4 minutes having gone by before anybody ventures out onto the circuit? So they don't have a lot of time, but they're still not using all that they've got anyway. Yeah, and
I said the cars probably have 60 litres in, but actually if they're only looking to do 2 timed laps a piece, they only need to be fueled for 10 laps. So they're most probably only about 35 litres of fuel, so even lighter again. The teams will be really in a window trying to make sure the tyres, which are currently either on the car or in the tyre ovens, are at the perfect temperature. And we'll see on outlaps of various drivers, do they want to work the tyre harder, generate more energy, or is actually the tyre already there and they don't want to take any of that out?
Mathis Liesmont will be behind the wheel of the SRO Motorsport Chevrolet Corvette. The car drops down and he blasts away, venturing out onto the circuit. That car was in the wars at Zandvoort in the first Sprint Cup race, but has quietly got on with the job and is being developed all the time moving forward. There's been success overnight for Corvette in GT World Challenge Australia. You're looking at Andre Mukovol's in the Bronze Cup Audi. Very understated car. Apart from the championship sponsors' decals on it, there's not very much livery about that. Sort of stealth. We're going to struggle to see that at Spa, aren't we, in the dark, as the car accelerates its way then now up towards the Variante Ascari underneath the bridge that doubles up as the Monza banking. Got Gabriel Rindon in the Lion Speed GP Porsche up the road ahead. This part of the racetrack, the Variante Ascari, was catching out people yesterday across all sessions, wasn't it? Not just in terms of GT World Challenge Europe, but the support races as well.
Yeah, it's a tricky corner, 3 parts to this Ascari chicane, and it is easier now. They reprofiled the last curve, but it makes it flat. And if the car's not perfect, it wasn't flat, and cars were finding the barrier on the exit to the inside, and there's not a lot of runoff there, and we saw cars quite literally destroyed. The 270 Comtu car of Potty had to withdraw because it had so much damage from dropping it on the exit.
And we had cars in gravel, we had cars spinning, so it was a challenging part of the racetrack yesterday. Mukovol's is going to set your target time as he goes through, 1 minute 49.219. Also looking rapid is James Allen in his first season of GT3 racing, the Australian who's raced in Formula Renault, there he is, and also raced in sports prototype LMP2 cars, Asian Le Mans, for example, European Le Mans Series drives wide coming out of the Parabolica, or if you prefer these days, the Michele Alboreto corner, and up towards the timing line. Ralph Bowen's Porsche has now got into the 148s to go fastest. James Allen now goes quicker still, a 46.7. So demonstrably quicker and doing purples across all the sectors. Now, in terms of traffic management, as out goes 48, which is the Matteo Cairoli, Lucas Mauro Engel Mercedes, this is where it gets really challenging because those that are on a push lap are now encountering cars still trickling out of the pits.
The cars have an onus on an out lap to get out of the way, but sometimes it's physically impossible. You can see the 48 Mercedes there, the yellow car flashing its lights. Lucas Auer already marking his line out on the 30 BMW, get out of my way. And yeah, for Alan, that's the second worst thing you want to see in your life after a tax investigation letter, I would suggest.
or that letter that says join the Joe Osborne fan club. Lucas Auer going in first when the car's heavier on fuel. That's slightly surprising, isn't it? Not quite often Lucas Auer is kept into the end when the car is lighter, because we know how fast he is.
Yeah, the car's faster, but the drivers are doing the same job. So some would argue actually you put your best driver in first when the car's at its worst, heaviest on fuel, and they can try and get as much out of it. One of the Garage 59 McLaren's getting well out of the way there of cars on their fast lap, and that's what I was talking. You can see they're weaving left to right, trying to generate some more tyre temp just to make sure they're ready on their first flyer.
Also got the number 97 Porsche there, Luc Hartog. Now, Luc Hartog does 2 shifts here because there's only him and Antares out driving that car, so he will do 2 stints come qualifying, 2 stints come the race, rather than the car sitting out Q1. So at the moment, you've got number 9, Michael Grenier, as the fastest in the Boots and VDS Mercedes, and that's quite impressive because they lost virtually 2 hours yesterday morning when a sensor failed, and it was only really in the last 10-15 minutes that Maxi Goetz was able to go out and do any laps. And bear in mind as well, that was a session that was red flagged 4 times, so it was a very bitty couple of hours to start the day.
Yeah, they lost a huge amount of track time, didn't they, as we see the cars stream. Some cars were trying to get a slipstream. 2 of the Garage 59 cars were actually nose to tail. We've seen how important slipstream can be in various disciplines and qualifying, but some of these cars are way too close to each other. They're going to be tripping over each other at the end of the lap, and straight away they're compromising their best possible chance when the tyre's at its quickest.
BMW comes onto the circuit, and that is the fastest car thus far. Michael Grenier then, with Lukas Stolz being the one to threaten him at the minute. Lukas Stolz, who has now gone fastest for number 17, gets speed on a 1:46.092, up through the traffic towards the Variante Ascari. Then comes Michael Grenier, who came back into European racing through Lamborghini Super Trofeo, but he's been another of the stable of drivers at Mercedes AMG for quite a few years now. He's on the lights there, telling Gabriel Rindon in the Porsche that he's on his way. Behind, you've got one of the Grasser Racing Team Lamborghinis. Behind that, you've got Luc Hartog in the Porsche from Rutronic Racing in the all-blue sort of Antares Au Manti colour scheme. There is Michael Grenier then out of the Parabolica up towards the timing line. James Kellett, the quick Brit, just gone second for Paradigm BMW. Michael Grenier third for Mercedes AMG. Carol Bash fourth currently for Get Speed, Mercedes AMG. And over the line, Michael Grenier goes fastest, 1:46.001. So 91 thousandths up on Stolz. Kellett's BMW third. Luc Hartog has now gone fourth in the Porsche. Fifth is Carol Bash Mercedes. Up to fourth for Garage 59 goes Guillermo Oliveira, and Ezequiel Perez Compact goes over the timing line now, does his best lap thus far, first proper flying lap. That puts him 38th, so there's more to come from the Audi. But again, the Mercedes are looking strong, but Mattia Drudi up to third, suggesting now there's a bit more variety. You've got Aston Martins and McLarens up near the pointy end as well this morning.
Yeah, Perez Compact lost 4 seconds in that last sector. Must have been traffic. 52A, of course, Ferrari through the Ascari chicane. Michael's there. We're interested to see what happened. He's got to get those tyres clean and get ready for another push lap.
Couple of cars being noted for an unsafe release, incidentally, as well. One of which is number 17, the Get Speed Mercedes. The other is the number 50, AF Corsa Ferrari of Alessio Dono, Antonio Fuoco, Arthur Leclerc. Over the line, then comes Lukas Stolz, back to the top of the times. He's now into the 1:45s, the 1:45.966 for Lukas Stolz. You've now got Mercedes AMG, 1, 2, 3, 4. Stolz, Grenier, Auer. Change that, BMW fourth. Jens Klingman up to fourth fastest. Mario Engel nearest two as Matteo Cairoli in the yellow overalls looks on. So almost every car coming over the line is shuffling the order with just over 5.5 minutes to go. But Jens Klingman, winner here last year, fourth for number 777, the Almanar Racing BMW team. Alessio Rivera for Ferrari, now fastest on a 1:45.851. There he is. That's impressive because yesterday, Ferrari, P nowhere.
Yes, exactly. They've awoken the prancing horse overnight. 2 purple sectors for Rivera. Still pushing hard. He has got the Winwood Mercedes in front of him holding up. Maximilian Gotch shaking his head going, that was looking good for Mercedes. Yeah. Less so now.
So Ferrari, AF Corsa, saying, yeah, OK, we're running to our own plan here. We know what we're up to. You do your own thing. Rivera with 2 absolute bests as well, a 1:45.851. As now, Guillermo Oliveira goes second for Garage 59, number 188 then. So the McLaren looking good. I mean, again, these were cars yesterday that we just dismissed. Up to second now goes Matteo Drudi because the Aston Martin goes quicker. And James Allen's McLaren goes to the top, 1:45.7. This is Lucas Auer. Let's just get him across the line. He may actually be pitting because he's down in the middle sector. So don't forget, this isn't the grid. This is one driver in one part of qualifying. You have to take the other 2 sessions and then get the average once you've combined them. Lucas Auer stays 7th. That lap was down, but he stays out.
Yeah, he backed out in sector 3 to get a gap to Van der Linde in the WRT car. He's in a WRT sandwich right now. But what a lap from Alan in the Optimum McLaren. That was his 5th flying lap. So he's managed to look after those tyres. And maybe the Optimum McLaren, or the McLaren in general, is light on its tyres. That could be crucial in the race.
Traffic management part of this in terms of qualifying as well. At AF Corsa, they try to not exude an air of told you so as they look at Rovera now 2nd in the times, but back in the hunt. So McLaren from Ferrari from Aston Martin, and then your best Mercedes AMG all of a sudden is, in quotes only, 4th. Lucas Stoltz at the wheel. Now, Lucas Auer, absolute best in the first sector. So the number 48 Mercedes is on a mission. This is Mikael Grenier, who is 6th in the times. And as you can see on the graphic, he's done 2 personal bests. Green for a sector is good. Purple is better than anybody. You want purples, but if you can't do that, green is your next best. So Mikael Grenier should be an improver. Let's get him across the line now. Goes through, stays 6th on a 1:45.944. Better lap, but doesn't improve the position in the classification. That's Mattia Drudi, who is on a slow run into the Parabolica, looking, I think, to try to find clear track space. Well, good luck with that. He accelerates out the other side, pulls the pin, and comes up to the line. And while he's doing all of that, Lucas Auer, absolute best sector 1, personal best sector 2. So at the moment, you've got to be in the mid-45s, and Lucas Auer finding traffic coming into the Parabolica. He's down to 10th in the order. He's going to try and salvage. This lap was way off the racetrack. Goes the BMW. Auer completely boxed in behind the traffic. That was the Santalot Qatari Audi that he got stuck behind, which then goes for the pit lane. And across the line goes Lucas Auer, and he lost a big chunk of time in that last sector. Kelvin van der Linde in the BMW nearly lost the lot because he was in and out the gravel, and that was just cars getting caught up in traffic, wrong part of the racetrack, wrong time. But the Qatari Audi, the one run by Santalot, was trying to get to the pit lane. It was Ibrahim Al Abdul Ghani at the wheel of it, but he got caught by the traffic. Then he had to get from one side of the racetrack to the other, and it all got very leery.
Who needs a qualifying race? We just need qualifying with 58 cars, and you generate a race somehow. But yeah, I feel for Auer there. 1.6 seconds lost in that final sector alone after a stonking start to the lap. You see Grenier on the flashes, trying to get that Audi out of the way. Everyone's pushing hard. It's gone on quickly this session, less than 2 minutes remaining, so cars are now starting to finish up their run.
And Alessio Rovera for Ferrari, back to the top of the times, 1:45.376, 2/10 quicker than anybody else. So you've got now Rovera, Ferrari, Stoltz, Mercedes, AMG, Joseph Loke, 3rd in the McLaren, James Allen, 4th, McLaren, Arthur Rougier, 5th, McLaren, and then to round out your top 6, Mattia Drudi, 7th is Mikael Grenier. This is Drudi coming then down to the Parabolica again. He's dropped a little bit of time in that middle sector, hasn't he?
Yeah, McLaren wound that thing up overnight, haven't they? They've suddenly come to the floor. They were P nowhere yesterday for all 2 of the sessions, as we see Drudi going to line. Stoltz has just done a purple sector 2, though. That's a car to look after. That was quick a lot of the time yesterday. See Harry King there coming into turn 1. He's got a nice bit of real estate, but has he got any tyres? As we look to Lucas Stoltz, has he got anything? Is he going to get held up by that other Boutsen Mercedes in front of him? He lets it go. He's actually going to get a perfect slipstream to the line here. 2nd at the moment. Can he take top spot?
Let's see, up towards the timing line then. He's got to beat a 1:45.3 from Alessio Rovera. Stay 2nd. Dropped a bit of time in that last sector. That was a 45.646, and his best was a 45.619. So Lucas Stoltz then will take the flag at the end of this lap, either on track or in the pit lane. Alessio Rovera went through behind, and his last lap was a 1:45.376, so he's still at the top. There in the background, you can see coming towards us the blue and yellow Porsche from Rutronic Racing. Now, that is Sven Muller at the wheel of the car, and it is 39th. That yesterday missed pre-qualifying because of a big power steering issue, so they are a little bit on the back foot in terms of track time. So the Porsche still not where they want it to be. That last lap put it up to 40th, but big frustration.
Yeah, the highest Porsche, Adrian Guvin in 8th, as we see Joseph Loke here, 3rd position. He's getting a good slipstream off fellow Brit Harry King in the Verstappen Aston Martin there. Is King going to get out of it? It looks like he's pushing for his lap. Got that slow Porsche to the inside. Hopefully Loke doesn't pop to the inside too late. Is Loke going to look to overtake? He's now down to 3rd position. He's backed out of it, and the checkered flag is out, so that's the end of his session.
Joseph Loke then, the Macclesfield driver, the winner 2 years ago of the BRDC McLaren Autosport Young Driver of the Year award. Sorry, Aston Martin it was then, not McLaren. And he brings the car into the pit lane. Checkered flag out. Harry King went through to be 11th there in the Verstappen.com 2Cs Aston Martin. And Matthew Drudy 6th. He improved at the very end. Right, that has thrown cats amongst pigeons, hasn't it, in terms of an order. This is Ian Schenguven's Porsche still pressing on, as we've got now Lucas Aus second right at the very end, a 1:45.486, just a tenth shy of Rovera. There's Sven Muller's Porsche just going through the shot, and Ferrari drivers discuss what comes next then. Alessio Rovera discussing with Vincent Bril what goes on for Q2. This is 22 Ian Schenguven then, the Turkish driver, another Porsche specialist, Carrera Cup champion, GT race winner, FIA Motorsport Games gold medalist, crosses the line, and Guven doesn't improve, so he ends up 10th in the times, but as Joe made the point, the best of the Porsche drivers. And this is Sven Muller in 96. As I say, this is the car that missed yesterday's pre-qualifying hour with that power steering issue, and riding on board as he heads up towards the end of the session. He's taken the flag, so this is his in-lap. He's hauled that car up to 37th.
Yeah, the team will want him to get the car back as quickly as possible so they can service it, get the second driver installed. But what a sound from that flat six Porsche, the straight cut gears as well, whining along as we see the Ferrari there getting ready for Q2. Another set of tyres will go on the car. All the drivers have their allocated sets of tyres, so no strategy at play here. 3 sets of tyres, which are all allocated to each individual driver.
And Alessio Donna getting out of the car, a bit frustrated, I suspect, only 21st, but you know, we're talking about such tiny margins. The fastest 29 are covered by under a second. That's insane, isn't it? Let us just quickly eavesdrop on Lucas Stolz. You're looking at his Mercedes in the pit lane, but this was what the radio sounded like a few moments ago.
Quick feedback on the car, please. For me, it's a little bit more honest here in the chicane, but I think for me it's more due to pressures. Other than that, the car was really nice. What about the pressures in general? They came obviously quite high now in the last 2 laps. What should we do for the next run? Either go out later or go a little slow on pressure. Copy that.
Interesting comments there between the teams. So talking about pressures, tyre pressures there. We're getting an unsafe release on the 50 car. That's pretty nailed on, that one, and I think that will attract a penalty, and that may be why Donna was a little bit peeved with something else. But yeah, team just trying to get an advantage and maybe lower the pressures is what they're suggesting, or go later on. It seemed like the pressures kept building as the energy in that tyre went too high on the 17.
So let's have a look at the order then after Q1, and the first named driver is the one that has been out so far. So it's Rovera from Auer with the 10th between them, Lucas Stolz third from Joseph Loke and James Allen, both of course they're McLaren drivers, and so's the 6th placed car, Arthur Rougier doing the time. Mirko Bortolotti we didn't really get to, but he went 7th at the end ahead of Matthew Drudy, then Mikael Grenier and Ian Schenguven, the best of the Porsche drivers, from Adam Smalley, Guillaume Oliveira, Harry King 13th, Sebastian Oegaard 14th, and Kelvin van der Linde tripped through the gravel but recovered to be 15th. James Allen so far is the fastest in gold. Guillaume Oliveira is the fastest in bronze. And Ivan Klimenko keeping out of the gravel today. He's the fastest so far in silver. Really interesting start to the day, though, that, isn't it? And an order that I don't think anybody would have predicted after what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, shows you the worthwhileness of practice sometimes, that, yeah, it's all a lot of gamesmanship, but also teams using it for different strategies, race runs, so ultimate pace doesn't always show.
Now, of course, it is a 3-hour endurance race, but really it's a 3-hour sprint. It is a 3-hour flat-out blast around Monza. The importance of qualifying really is to get you up near the front of the grid and out of jeopardy going into that first chicane. We have in the past had plenty of drama going into the first corner. I expect more of the same today, and at the moment there are quite a few big name entries with work to do, like 26th, the Farfus Krone Marciello BMW. 41st is the Team RJN McLaren. Reece Barr has been, Tommy Foster and Alex Buncombe to go. Ash Sutton four-timer British Touring Car champion, going out in Q1, 42nd in his first GT3 outing. But we now have to factor in the next two drivers going through qualifying. Bit of concern here with scrutineers having a look into the James Allen number 5 Optimum McLaren, as well as the team there.
Yeah, the team are diving in harder. I hope that's nothing too serious.
Let's have a look at the highlights of that first part of qualifying. Everybody being released for 15 minutes, some going out earlier than others, and early doors. Mikael Grenier quick for the Boots and VDS team. So the Mercedes that missed quite a chunk of track time yesterday going better. Louis Machiels, who had a spin at the end of free practice, skipped the Ascari chicane, and then with traffic in the way, Calvin van der Linde and Lucas Auer very nearly came to grief at the Parabolica. Van der Linde's lap spoiled as he went through the gravel. Lucas Auer's lap spoiled because he got stuck behind the Santalot Rancateri Audi. Mathieu Drudi was going nicely in the COMTU 007 Aston, chipping his way through the ranks into the top 10, and out on track we had contact between BMW and Mercedes AMG, the local heroes in number 15, the BMW being run out wide at Italia Ceccato Racing. Joseph Loke was impressing for Garage 59, but the best of anybody was Luca Stolz in number 17 Mercedes, as he managed to battle with Ferrari for the top time. It's been a really interesting start to the day then. Q1 done at Monza with Ferrari fastest at the very end. So Alessio Rivera's time to be top, 1:45.376. The fast lane is open, so cars will be making their way down to pit exit, ready to blast out on track. Good start to the day for Ferrari. Good start to the day for Alessio Rivera, who is with Alex Legui.
Alessio, my goodness me, what a great lap. But how tricky is it to put a good lap out there?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't expect. Also watching our result of yesterday, I exited the pit lane. I was in a good queue of cars. I had 3 Mercedes in front, which were really quick yesterday. So I said, okay, I can stay here. I can be in the tow and gain something on the straight. And yeah, so I think it was the right strategy. Car felt good, but also yesterday, just a bit of lack of power. The lap was good, so I'm happy.
Congratulations, great start to the weekend.
And of course, at the end of qualifying, we will have our Rover Motor Oil Pole Position Award based on the efforts of the 3 drivers across the car. There you can see in super slow-mo Alessio Rivera hard at work through the chicane, right up behind the number 81 Winwood Racing Mercedes. Right, Q2 is underway. Again, 15 minutes. Look down from the drone onto that long pit straight. Just over 5 kilometres long is the Monza circuit, set in this enormous park, which itself has been busy over the course of the weekend with cyclists, joggers, dog walkers, people out for a stroll, even 1 or 2 of the teams going for a run around the park before they come to work. And you can see the nature of where we are. It's a fabulous circuit, and it's a really great area of Italy. No wonder Monza is such a fan favourite. And everywhere you look, there are echoes of a long and illustrious history of this circuit.
Yeah, too true. 1922, the circuit opened. You can see Milan in the background there, very close to the city. 4th largest enclosed park in Europe. I'll let you know that, David.
Okay. I bow to your knowledge of parks. Out they go for Q2. Before you ask, I wasn't here in 1922 for the first meeting, no. 992 BMW, which is one of the 2 Paradigm entries. James Kellett, Charles Clark, Pedro Ibrahim, the drivers. It's going to be Charles Clark for this second stanza of qualifying. And in a few moments, that car will get the tyres out of the warmers. Wheels will go on. It can be dropped down and venture out. 188 then. That was looking very rapid earlier on, with Guillermo Oliveira taking the top time. Miguel Ramos now installed behind the wheel of this Bronze Cup McLaren. And Miguel Ramos is just such an experienced AM. He's an AM plus, isn't he, really?
He doesn't age either.
No,
picture
right.
there. He looked like that 15 years ago. He is so quick. He's one of the shiniest bronze-graded AMs out there. Super successful businessman, does a huge amount of work during the week. So then to be able to hop in one of these super fast GT3 cars is even more impressive. And he's got a lot of space around him at the moment, because we are heading into Sector 3, so he'll have his eyes on stalks. He'll even be talking to the team saying, how's pit exit looking? Shall I back off? Shall I try and find some space? But actually at the moment, looking at pit exit, it's not looking too busy. This could be a good strategy from Garage 59 to get Miguel Ramos out here and try and hold on to the fastest bronze class car so far.
So the pit lane is starting to empty gradually now. Things are starting to empty from the pit lane, and Ford, BMW, Ferrari coming down the pit lane. You can't cross that white line. You're always told by race direction, treat that as a barrier. If you cross it, it'll damage the car. You'll have to come into the pit. So if you cross it, we'll bring you into the pits, or there'll be a penalty. So just avoid at all costs.
Let's see how the AF Course Ferrari mechanics release that car. The 51 is the one that I think they might get the penalty. The 52 released first of all. A difficult job for those car controllers. The car's doing 50 kilometers an hour down pit lane. Sometimes looks slow on camera, but 50 kilometers an hour, if you were doing that on the road, it's still a relatively fast speed. You've got to trust the driver's going to drop the clutch and get going.
Now, number 26 there. Ivan Klimenko did the time to be fastest in class in the earlier session. Now it is newcomer Rhys Gold at the wheel. So new to Monza, new to GT3 European racing. One to watch potentially as he becomes happier with the car. Now, number 5, we saw not only scrutineers having a look, but the engineers almost falling into the back of the car at optimum. And Largim Ali is ready to go, but is the car ready to go is the question.
Yeah, I'm worried what they're looking at there. Just trying to, let's get the eye. So we've got mechanic working away from the optimum team, bit of tape going on something pretty low down by the engine. I assume it's a sensor of some form that's come loose, and maybe the wiring starting to rub against something, and they're just trying to get through. But they would have been alerted from that on the live telemetry, so I worry that the problem has already happened and they can't fix it. As we go back to Miguel Ramos, we were looking at him about 1 minute and 40 seconds ago. Let's see what his first fly is going to be. Where's he going to put this car? Anything in the 147s, I think, would be a good lap for Miguel Ramos.
Best time of anybody, a 1:45.3 from earlier, a 47.3 just done by Ramos as the WRT fleet starts to go out on track with the number 30 car, the bright blue entry, first one to trip the beam at pit exit. So more and more of the cars now getting on track, and you can see just how busy it is going to become with cars trying to blend into the line, into the chicane. And if you're on a fast lap, then it gets very leery indeed. Paul Everard then, he's going to be one to try and set an early good lap time for Santalok as he comes then down through the parabolica. The team will be on the radio, no doubt, saying it's busy up the road ahead of you because you've got all these cars pouring out onto the circuit. Patrick Kolb's Porsche has gone fastest out of the Bronze Cup. Over the line, up to second goes Paul Everard. So that puts him between... Oh, sorry, yes, he now goes second on aggregate, but fastest in Q2, forgive me. So Paul Everard goes top by 48 thousandths from Patrick Kolb.
Yeah, the timing tower on your left of screen will take a while to shake out. Basically, anyone that's done a lap in this second part of quali will be artificially boosted up. As we look at Miguel Ramos, did have a purple sector 1, which is super impressive. Yes, he was one of the early cars out there, but that was still a very quick sector. Expect the lap times to continue to fall. Obviously, the fastest in Q1 was a 45.3, so we're still a way off that at the moment, and then we'll start to see where our grid is sitting.
Right, so this is Miguel Ramos then, who on the average is the fastest, well, that car is the fastest. So with Guillermo Oliveira and now Miguel Ramos' efforts, he comes up towards the timing line. Paul Everard quickest within this part in number 25 Audi. As over the line goes Ramos and stays at the top. The average time now 1:46.396, as you see. BMW's heading back on track. And how busy is this, especially with everybody weaving around, trying to get the warmth into the tyres. Max Hofer's Audi number 66 now doing an absolute best within the first sector. But just when you think you can commit to a line, you find somebody weaving and warming up the tyres. That is a very brave Patrick Kolb on a mission. He is third in this part of qualifying for Lion Speed. Patrick Kolb has got better and better in a very short space of time, having come really from historic racing into modern GT cars. But Patrick Kolb comes up to the line, and as he goes through, the car is 7th on aggregate and 3rd in Q2. But Max Hofer's Audi is going to be one to watch. The stealth-like all-black car. He's lost his absolute best in the middle sector, though, because that's just been snatched away by Jules Gounon. But here is Max Hofer then coming up to the line. It's not that busy ahead of him for the moment, is it?
No, it's really not. They're not wasting any weight on a livery. It's almost a Henry Ford design now, isn't it? And yeah, you could see the traffic into the last corner, and you could see Club was on a push. Another one on a push. Jules Gounon here, purple sector 2. How's it going to be as he gets to the line?
Don't forget, this was in the top 2 in Q1. Jesse Krohn has now gone fastest in this part of qualifying on a 48.3. Jules Gounon up towards the line, and on the combined average, that puts them top then, a 1:45.624 for the Get Speed Mercedes. Jules Gounon and Luca Stoltz combined efforts then put that car to the top on the aggregate, and also Gounon faster than anybody in this part of qualifying.
Car directly behind Kirchhoffer went second, now third. Nicky Team has just pushed him down there, second overall as well now in that Garage 59 car.
992. Charles Clark getting out of the way. Sister car's got Sean Galile at the wheel of it. Nicky Team has just gone up to second in Q2 and third on aggregate. That is number 32 BMW now, which has been taken over by Charles Wirtz. He's yet to do a time, trying to get himself some clear track space. Well, good luck with that. Just look at this. The circuit absolutely full. You've got people on a flying lap, you've got people that have backed off, people on the lights. It is just nuts out there.
15 cars on that bit of tarmac there. The engineers will be telling the drivers you need to lose 20 seconds to find the space, but then everyone else is doing the same. It becomes academic. Jules Gounon did do a purple sector 1. That's now been stolen away from him, though it hasn't. Caroli is fastest in sector 2 and fastest in this session, and puts Winward pole overall.
Matteo Cairoli then a 1:45.558. It's not quite as quick actually as Rivera did in Q1. There is number 51 Ferrari then. That was the car that was fastest in the first part. Luca Engel has just gone third in Q2. Number 63 Lamborghini. Vincent Abril at the wheel of 51 Ferrari right now. Gounon, purple. This ought to put them back to the top then, this inter-Nissan contest between the Mercedes AMG teams. So Jules Gounon rounds the parabolica, comes up towards the timing line. He's looking to be fastest in Q2. He's looking for pole position on the combined average. Up to the timing beam he comes, and Jules Gounon goes through to go fastest on a 1:45.000. The lap time to the 1,000th then. It is a 1:45 dead, and that puts Get Speed back to the top, 45.309. Now, the average lap time. Great job done by Gounon, but we're not done yet. 5 minutes of the session to go.
In this session, he's nearly half a second quicker than anybody. Remember, points yesterday, we had 40 cars covered by a second, and he's got half of that deficit to one car.
And that next car is Marvin Kirchhoffer's McLaren. Wow. Big cloud of dust at the Variante Ascari there. And I can't see a car, so whoever it was came out the other side, all right. So you've got Gounon from Kirchhoffer's McLaren, from Cairoli's Mercedes AMG, Engel's Lamborghini, Jesse Krohn's BMW, and Max Hoffer's Audi, the top 6 in Q2. As here, Matteo Cairoli dives now down towards the parabolica. Behind him is the Ferrari of Vincent Abril, getting a bit caught up in the traffic then. So you might have one good part of qualifying, but that's not to say you're going to have a clear run through the other two. Up towards the timing line then, Cairoli goes through. What about Vincent Abril? Up to 6th now. Dean McDonald has gone second for McLaren, so the McLaren's showing a good turn of speed this morning. 51 Ferrari was 6th, it's now down to 7th. Dean McDonald is only 2/10 shy of Jules Gounon, and Vincent Abril 7th on the average now, but only 21st in this part. Now 21st of Vincent Abril, 1.3 seconds back from Gounon. That's a big chunk of time to find.
Yeah, look how much Kirchhoffer's caught Gounon here. Is Gounon going to box, or is he just backed off, try and save the tyre? Kirchhoffer now backs off to try and get the ultimate gap around here, about 12 to 13 car lengths. So you're getting a bit of a slipstream, but not losing too much aerodynamics grip. As we look at the Get Speed team, they'll be very happy with their 2 drivers they've had in so far. Stoltz in Q1 was quick, and Gounon has been beyond fast in Q2 so far.
So Gounon, McDonald, Kirchhoffer, Cairoli, Martin, Engler is the top 6 in Q2. A couple of years ago, we got very excited about Dean McDonald, and deservedly so. Very, very impressive young driver. Did share a car with Miguel Ramos for a time. This season, aboard 58, he has Louis Pret and Adam Smalley as co-drivers, and they're quick as well. The car running in the Gold Cup. Down towards the parabolica it comes then. Some of the sponsorship coming from Joe Macari, prestige car dealer, but a long, long time ago. Road saloon racer himself, and as Dean McDonald heads up towards the line, he drops a little bit of time in the middle sector. He will go across the line and doesn't improve. Matteo Cairoli's done the absolute best in sector 2. Jules Gounon's done a new absolute best in sector 1. Matteo Cairoli from Porsche to Lamborghini, now not a factory Mercedes AMG driver, but a welcome addition, comes up towards the line, and it was a personal best in the last sector. He goes second then in Q2, second on the average, and it's now 46 thousandths between the Get Speed and Winwood Mercedes.
Yeah, that was the importance, is making that gap as small as possible, 46 thousandths, like you've just said, as we go back to sorry, that's Kirchhoffer, isn't it? He's trying to still find a bit of pace, but they seem to be getting more laps out of this than they thought they were going to, and be interesting to see if he can get in front of Dean McDonald. The inter-team battle's always very hotly contested.
He's got to find just over a 10th, hasn't he, as Jules Gounon then comes now down to the Parabolica. And although he did an absolute best in Sector 1, he dropped a bit of time in the second sector. So let's see what Jules can do. His last lap was a 47.3, his best a 45.0. And as he goes across the line, that lap from Jules Gounon was a 47.097. So the Mercedes now not showing quite the same pace it did a lap or two ago. It's all smiles at Garage 59, where the cars are third and fourth in the order in Q2.
Yeah, big jump up there from Come To You, the 7 car, all the way up to 5th place now. Jules Gounon lost 2 seconds on that last lap, just trying to take some energy out the tyres, out the brakes, see if he can get a second hit as we go on Curly. Big snap of oversteer through his car, use lots of curve on the left. Be careful of track limits on the exit. There is a camera there that is looking for that problem. Last straight into Parabolica. The car will be braking around the 50-metre board. Here's the 300. Here's the 200. 150, 100. This last board on the left, brake. We've broken early, so we're either bailing for pit lane or we're going to set up another lap. He's having to make these decisions on the fly. These cars in front, the WRT cars, holding him up, keeping a tight line. This is going to be his last lap. 40 seconds remaining. Up
to the timing line then. Mattia Cairoli goes through. Second he went last time. Dean McDonald did an absolute best last sector to get third, and to secure that from Marvin Kirchhoffer, he went a further 8 thousandths faster. So the order continues to shuffle. There's still some nervous faces in the pit boxes. Charles Weerts, incidentally, the Paul Ricard winner, number 32, 15th now on that aggregated time. And drivers getting themselves ready for the the third part of qualifying, including Maxi Goertz, winner at Alton Park last week in British GT. Mattia Michelotto is looking pretty racy, having done a personal best, there he is, in the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghini number 163 that he shares with Font Pereira and Sandy Mitchell. Comes now through the right-hander of the Parabolica up towards the line. He'll take the flag, because the flag is out. And goes over the line now. The net result stays 10th. Michelotto goes over the line, job done. 5th in his session, though. That's a great run from him. And actually, another Lamborghini of Engstler, 7th in his session, is now 5th overall in the 63 car. That went under the radar slightly. So it's starting to spice up. That Optimum McLaren as well jumped up to 5th. That was a late good lap from them. So the problem obviously isn't huge. Dean McDonald looks like he's going to box at the end of this lap. Give the Garage 59 guys a few more minutes to get the car turned around. As the Gold Cup pole car, Dean McDonald comes to the pit lane. Second in gold at the moment is the Optimum McLaren. So the two British teams looking strong in the British brand. Optimum's car having been so far James Allen and Largin Ali. Largin Ali to go 7th in Q2. That's pretty impressive as well. Looking for Kobe Powell's here. Second generation rallycrosser as well as circuit racer. And the Comtu Aston wriggles out of the Variante Ascari. I'm tempting fate by saying this, I know, but we haven't had quite the same drama at the chicane there than we did yesterday. Does that suggest people are being rather more careful or rather more controlled, or a combination this morning? But the drama and destruction of yesterday, thus far, we've avoided. Yeah, the drivers know if they make a mistake like that in qualifying, it's almost day done. Even if the car's repairable, you'll be starting at the back of the grid. So it's difficult in qualifying. You've got new tyres, low fuel, so the car's at its fastest, and it is so important. The risk versus reward is always difficult. There is Jules Gounon, and he is the fastest. Let us just wind the clock back a few seconds. This is what he said to the team on his way back to the pits.
Which position are we? P1 at the moment by 2.5 tenths to Cairoli. Didn't do a good lap.
Quite self-critical, isn't it?
Yeah.
2.5 tenths clear, and it wasn't a good lap.
Not good enough to us. So Jules Gounon did a 1:45.0, 3 tenths quicker than Rovera did in Q1. So Ferrari and Mercedes AMG at the moment showing the times. We didn't get a lap out of 9.92. James Kellett, BMW. Now, that was a concern, because I'm not aware. That's the James Kellett, Charles Clark Pedrehiram car. I'm not aware that it had a problem in the first part of qualifying. We'll try and come back to that and see if we can chase down what the paradigm problem may be. So Jules Gounon saying it wasn't a good lap. Well, it looked pretty good, and he was fastest. He can tell all. Alex Legui is with him.
Well, Jules, you topped the charts in both free practice and pre-qualifying, and once again, another great lap. However, we hear on the radio that you actually weren't that happy with it.
No, not super happy. I didn't put everything together. You know, sometimes when you're a perfectionist, it's very hard to be happy. My girlfriend always tells me to be happy with what I have, so still happy we are on P1. But as a driver, you always look for the ultimate lap, and on that lap, I didn't put everything together. Still, it was a very good lap. The car feels good. The Ferrari was very fast. I don't know what happened to them. I see they are a bit down, so I was expecting a very close fight with them, and some other brands also are very fast with us. So let's hope for a good Q3, and hopefully we can start in the front. It will be nice.
And where do you think you can get more out of this car?
You know, when you're driving to the absolute limit and you're really close to the limit, sometimes you have a little thing in the lap. And for example, in NASCAR, there was a little bit of margin where I think I could have extract maybe half a tenth or something like this. But when you're a piece for half a tenth, it's okay. So no, thanks to GetSpeed, the car feels good. As I told you the whole weekend, we worked very hard. So, you know, finally we prove it. But we have still one more in Q3, and hopefully we can go in the front.
Thank you.
So Jules Gounon, as he says, a perfectionist, and very much one of the stars of not just GT3 racing, but these days hypercar as well for Alpine. So Lukas Stoltz and Jules Gounon at the moment are ahead of the Luca Sauer, Matteo Cairoli Winward Mercedes by 46 thousandths of a second. Joseph Loke and Marvin Kirchhofer are now third on aggregate, with Adam Smalley and Dean McDonald behind. Mirko Bortolotti and Luca Engschler are fifth, ahead of James Allen and Largin Ali. Seventh, Mathieu Drudi and Nicky Tim. Martha Rougier and Simon Gachet. Eighth from Michael Grenier and Maxime Martin, with Alessio Rivera and Vincent Abril 10th. Rivera having topped Q1, Gounon having topped Q2. So in Pro, it's number 17 that tops the times there. In Gold, it's the Adam Smalley, Dean McDonald and soon-to-be Louis Pret McLaren. In Silver, Jamie Day and Kobe Powell's Aston Martin. And as far as bronze is concerned, 26th, you find Guillermo Oliveira and Miguel Ramos. Tom Fleming, who was a Ferrari driver last year, he will be next behind the wheel, and we'll see whether he can hang on to pole position within the Bronze Cup. A little bit further back, you've just heard from Jules Gounon, one of the drivers in his management stable. Sai Sanjay is going to go next in the car that is 40th, the CSA Racing number 112 McLaren. But yeah, drama for 992, not a proper lap done for Charles Clark in that second session, and Paradigm must be a little bit frustrated, to say the very least. So far, it's a really interesting jumbled grid, and we're not done yet, are we?
We're really not. And that incident we saw at Parabolica with the WRT car and the Man Filter AMG car of Auer and the Qatari car is under investigation. I don't think much will happen there, but we'll keep an eye on that. I think Jules Gounon's lap's going to be difficult to beat for anyone in Q3. It was that good a lap.
I think you might well be right. So Mercedes top the times thus far. So we've had Q1, we've had Q2, one further 15-minute part to come. But as far as Q2 was concerned, Miguel Ramos took up attention early on. The McLaren looking rapid, as also was 21 of Kobe Powell's, on target for a provisional silver pole at the end of the first two parts of the session. Lamborghini's also starting to work their magic. We had cars running out wide, dropping a wheel into the gravel. Marvin Kirchhofer hustling on in the Garage 59 entry. And both Kirchhofer and Dean McDonald were looking very rapid indeed. The Garage 59 and indeed Optimum McLaren this morning having found a big chunk of pace as Antares Au had a wobble going through the Variante Ascari skip back onto the circuit. The Hong Kong driver dropping a little bit of time as a consequence. Matteo Cairoli turned his way with Maurice Schuring behind him up through the Variante Ascari, but it was all about Mercedes AMG. Jules Gounon doing a very good, if not quite perfect, by his own admission lap to go fastest in number 17. So you can see the fans in the grandstand looking at the track. You've got the Old Access Road in front, and we are getting ready for Q3. So this is where you take the final driver. He's got to get a lap in, aggregate the three, then factor in grid drops as well. So even what we're looking at and how the grid is being shaped in this third part isn't quite the end of the story. There are other things being looked at, whether it's for an unsafe release or, yeah, as Joe made the point, that incident between Kelvin van der Linde, Lucas Auer and Ibrahim Abdul Ghani, who was sort of trying to get across into the pit lane, he might be told just be a bit more aware of traffic around you. But with so many cars out on track, you're always going to encounter somebody at the wrong moment, aren't you?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's busy out there. It's busy in the park as well, isn't it? Yeah, Q3, it's going to heat up. This is the last chance you're going to get. And let's listen in on that 32 car that's involved in that investigation.
Radio check, loud and clear. From our side, we're quite happy with the car. Charles should have gone forward on brake bias for you. The car does get faster and faster. There's a slight peak on time lap 2, but you can do it on any lap. The traffic is difficult, and you just have to do what you can, and in the last sector, everything's a mess. We try and do our best job. Put it together, we'll be in the mix. We'll be in the mix, Hugo. Just focus on your points. Don't overdo the braking and get good exits. But you can do this.
Pep talk for Hugo de Wilde, who is going to be the third man to go in number 32.
Yeah, lovely words from the engineer, Will McKelvey, there on the 32 car, exactly as a driver. What you want to hear, what's been happening to the car? Well, the bias has gone forwards. What's the peak like? It's on lap 2, but it's long. The traffic's crazy, I'm not going to lie to you. Sector 3, you need to find it. He's going to help him, of course, over the radio on the live track. All these cars have GPS tracking, so the engineers can live see where everyone else is, but they don't know what they're about to do next. Interestingly, first car out, 991, had a problem in Q2. No issue in Q1, so hopefully it was a Control-Alt-Delete, and it's going to be A-OK.
I think it was 992 that had the problem, wasn't it? It was the sister car. Darren Lung has gone. There is 992, so it is moving. Here's one we prepared earlier. Yes, there's 992. The problem hopefully solved, back on track. So Charles Clark didn't really get a lap in at all. Pedro Ibrahim, who we see in GT4 as well as GT3, he should be now the man behind the wheel. Darren Lung's car then going out first. The Paradigm BMWs, and there is Pedro Ibrahim on track.
Yeah, the only interesting, it took a long time for it to register at cross pit exit, and normally it's instant. The transponder goes over the magnetic loop, and I just wonder if that could be some kind of electrical issue if the transponder's not getting power. Let's see, I think I might be getting ahead of myself. Hopefully everything is fixed on this 992 car. The only two cars on track are the two Paradigm cars.
Yeah.
And they've got 5.8 kilometres to themselves.
So there is 992 heading up towards the Variante Roggia through the chicane, and Pedro Ibrahim in 992. Patron, Darren Lung in 991, getting the road to himself. Darren, who races BMWs, runs this Paradigm team, or is in charge of it. Simon Traves, through his organisation, operates the cars, but then has a separate programme as just a driver for United Autosports going through the WEC. And this is the view looking out the front of 991 as Darren Lung, British GT champion, comes up to the line. He has done a massive amount of motor racing in a very, very short space of time.
Yeah, he really has, and a huge amount of fitness. He's in the gym 26 hours a day as well, so he takes it very, very seriously. As we hurtle into turn number 1, 275 kilometres an hour, braking at the 150 board, down to second gear, 4 downshift, 60 kilometres an hour. It's the slowest point here at Monza as we see above from the drone, the exit, all the way up to the gravel trap. And now we're full throttle again for 20 seconds. You are full throttle for 91% of this Monza lap. It is stonkingly fast through Curva Grande. Do the shortest line possible. You then bring it back over to the right for the second chicane, slightly faster than the first, and you can use lots of curb, 80 kilometres an hour through this apex on the left. How much curb is Darren going to use? All of it. And he on the right decides doesn't like the sausage curb, can unsettle the car into Lesmo number 1. 4th gear, 130 kilometres an hour apex speed. Get it into the gully on the curb. It helps the front hook up. Use all the exit. Be careful of track limits. It is possible. The second Lesmo, brake at the 50. Pop off the brake. Hope the front grips. Go. Full throttle. Another 20 seconds of full throttle as we hurtle through this easy flat left kink. We're going to see the old banking. We dive underneath it, getting ready for this Scari chicane. You brake on, there's a marshal post on the right-hand side. You'll see the marshals now. Brake. 4th gear. Lots of curb on the left. Hard on the throttle. 130 kilometres an hour. 180 by the exit. All of the curb on the exit. 2. Careful of track limits once again. Final corner coming up. You tell yourself, take a breath, relax. I've only got to stroke this home. No mistakes. Don't get greedy. But then don't be too cautious. I need to get greedy. You're going to brake somewhere near the 50-metre board. Hard on the brakes. 150 kilometres an hour through Parabolica. Let the car run out wide. Open the steering. Don't scrub any speed off. Then go back to the right. Try and do the shortest distance to the line. Looked like a nice clean lap there from Darren Lung.
Heads up towards the line then as he comes through, and heading then now down towards the first chicane. The time that he has done is a 1:48.156. There will be more to come from that car inevitably, but equally the circuit's going to get busy. So that was the clearest he's going to find it. That was his happy hour, as it were. From here on in, although the car might get faster and he'll get faster at himself as well, it's going to get very, very busy out there. Number 5, Optimum McLaren, is under investigation for a pit lane infringement. The other thing that we haven't really dwelt on yet, because it's been so busy looking at times rather than looking at times that disappear, there have been quite a few track limit cancellations. So just when you think you've got it all hooked up and you've got a clear lap, if you run wide, you lose the lap. You're not warned, you just have the lap taken away. So you've got to be so cautious as well of not throwing away a golden opportunity for a good lap time.
Yeah, as you see, Thomas Preining on the flushes. They're so aggressive, the Porsche and the Ferrari getting out of the way very well. They're on out laps, but they've done well to recognise this. We've seen it taking a while, haven't we? We heard the WRT engineer say lap 2's the peak. Let's see what Thomas Preining's first lap is. I don't think we've had anyone do a 45 first lap. What's this going to be from Preining? 46.0 is close, but still, yeah. I haven't seen a 45.0 anything on the first fly.
No, 45.000, the best lap of the session from Jules Gounon from earlier on. Gilles Magnus might be a man to watch, the Rob Huff-managed Belgian driver, who has been a star in touring cars as well as in GT3 Audis in recent seasons. Gilles Magnus then accelerates up towards the Variante Ascari. There's traffic up the road ahead of him, inevitably. When is there not? And he's done 2 purples. At the moment, though, that's a little bit meaningless because so few cars have started a proper flying lap. We've got 9 more minutes of qualifying to go. But Magnus trying to get himself a good lap in now while everybody else is getting up to speed. So Thomas Preining is the fastest on a 46.0, but that's about a second off what we know the best time can be.
I think this is going to be a very strong lap for Magnus. This could be a mid-45, so no one doing a 45 on their first fly. I think he's about to do me wrong. This car at the moment is an average of a 46.3. I think, like I said, this could be a 45. That would be a very strong lap. 45.9, not a great last sector, but still P1 in this session.
And for the moment, also provisional pole as the other cars start to put their average times in. Now, that's number 5, needing a push to get the Optimum car going.
So that was the cable, wasn't it? It was the starter motor then. Something is burnt through there, and this will go against pit lane procedure, and that's what they're being investigated of. And it didn't even look like the car fired enough for that Optimum crew.
Yeah, that's Mikey Porter at the wheel, and it's going to be touch and go as to whether they get out now. Fabian Schiller in the car that had provisional pole position at the end of Q2, coming then down towards the Parabolica. Fabian Schiller ready to accelerate up towards the timing line now. He's got 22 Porsche behind him, which has got newcomer Larry ten Voorde at the wheel. Not new to Porsches, because he's won just about everything there is to win in Porsche Carrera Cup and Super Cup, but he comes up to the timing line as a GT World Challenge Europe rookie. There's the Flying Dutchman. And onto a quick lap now goes the Get Speed car. There you've got ten Voorde through the traffic, up the inside into the chicane. Nicely done.
Yeah, he's made his own Porsche Carrera Cup race, haven't they?
Yeah.
4 Porsches nose to tail through turn 1. He's compromised himself 2 or 3 tenths, having to overtake that Herberth Porsche in front of him. But now he's got some clear space with 7 minutes remaining. He's got time for 4 laps to see where he can get that car.
And again, Optimum are being looked at for a pit lane infringement. So they've got one from Q2, they've got another one from Q3 by having to try and push start the car. Jordan Pepper has now gone fastest in Q2 and up to provisional pole, 1:45.538. Fabian Schiller through the traffic, he's on the lights. Yannick Mettler, the quick Swiss driver, has also now improved better than anybody in the first sector. How's the Porsche Cup battle going on? It's still raging. There you've got the Qatari Santa Loc Audi heading into the Variante Ascari as number 3 of Colin Carasani, number 6 of Colin Carasani comes through. Number 3 of Yannick Mettler is the red Get Speed Mercedes there in the Bartone colours coming into Parabolica. We know that Yannick Mettler is good, and this is another car in the Silver Cup, so a class pole is what they're after.
Yeah, he's going to lower this average, a 47.6. I think he might be able to get that into the 45s on his personal lap as he crosses the line now. 45.5. What a lap from Mettler.
Very good indeed, up to 9th then. Fabian Schiller through the traffic. It's still number 63 thanks to Jordan Pepper, who is fastest, but second in Q3 Yannick Mettler. What can Fabian Schiller do? It's greens, not purples for number 17 Mercedes. As he comes then now towards the timing line, he will go through and break the beam now, and that's fastest for Fabian Schiller. Back onto pole position, 1:45.410. And in Q3, Ricardo Feller's Lion Speed Porsche goes quicker than anybody, 1:45.308. So that's another car out of bronze, but Ricardo Feller, former Sprint Cup champion in Audi, up to the top.
Yeah, and there's the Porsche coming alive now. The fuel's coming out of it. Seems to be going well. The Optima McLaren still in pit lane. Also, the 992 car seems to have come back into pit lane, so maybe a problem with that car.
Gilles Magnus then, faster earlier on. He's been shuffled back in the pack to 14th as he rides the curb coming out of the Variante Ascari. Now he's done a good first sector, better than anybody. He has done a personal best in the middle sector. So Gilles Magnus then comes down to the Parabolica. You can see he's backed out of it. So despite it having a good start, he bails from the lap.
Yeah, his teammate dived to the inside, and then the Ziggo Sport car gets back down the inside of him. So this is going to be a drag race into turn number 1. Which car's got the top speed? Magnus will hope it's him. He has just got back in front, but is that Ziggo Ferrari going to have a lunge into him to turn 1 because he wants track position too?
And that Ziggo Sport Tempesta Ferrari, Chris Froggatt at the wheel of it, under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. So as Luc Hartog's blue Porsche goes through the shot, the Team RJN McLaren on track 2. The session has got 4.5 minutes to go. Jordan Pepper faster than anybody in Q3. He's done a 45.269. There you've got Ricardo Feller, who was top in the line speed Porsche. Of course, he is the star-graded driver in that Bronze Cap entry. It's no surprise that he's quick. It's interesting, though, to see how he's adapted to the Porsche, having been an Audi stalwart for the last few years. He was Sprint Cup champion with Matteo Drudi, remember, in 23, comes across the timing line. The car is 32nd on the average, but in this part of qualifying, it's 3rd now. Fabian Schiller, a 1:45.086, quickest in Q3.
He's getting there, still slightly slower than Gounon's laps. Pepper's done a mega job. He's now got that car of the 63 all the way up to 3rd overall. That's been a really strong session for Jordan Pepper so far. And the VSR Lamborghini as well, the 163 now up to 4th overall. Great lap from Frank Pereira in that car.
True enough. Then saw smiles at get speed. What about for Jordan Pepper, who comes across the timing line? Jordan's last lap was a 48.3. We didn't get his set times on that lap, so has he got a transponder glitch? In which case he may well get put back into the order in a moment. He comes through the chicane, so Jordan Pepper now starts another flying lap, but as I say, his last lap didn't offer up any sector times. Through he goes. Yeah,
it's a 48, so he backed out. Maybe look after the tyres. We're flat out at the moment. The V10 Lamborghini engine screaming. The traction of this car is so good. It puts down the power so well. Good sector 1 so far. 6 thousandths off the ultimate fastest as the car flies through that second chicane. Back into the Lesmos now. Soft brake. How much curb can we use on the inside? Gets it in nice. Picks the throttle up so early. It's blind there. The barrier blocks your view as a driver of the exit. Same here at Lesmo 2. Lots of curb on the inside. The car bucking and twisting under all the energy thrown through it. The space in front doesn't look like a lot, but that is a huge amount. So he'll be very happy at the moment with the rest of this lap he's potentially got coming up.
So Jordan Pepper then on this lap, personal best in the first sector. Frank Pereira, by the way, has gone second fastest in Q3, so he's 56 thousandths shy of Fabian Schiller. This is Mauro Engel, he's currently 6th, and on this lap, Mauro down in the middle sector, but he did do a personal best in the first. So the Winwood Racing Man Filter Mercedes goes across the line. Mauro Engel is 2nd provisionally on the grid, but still 6th in Q3. Meanwhile, this is Jordan Pepper.
Let's watch the clock on the right there, and I think in the 44s, oh, he bails, interestingly. Didn't see that coming. He was really aggressive into it. He's felt the tyre drop off, and he knows, and this is where the top drivers know not to put any extra miles on the tyres. Why? Because they use these tyres in the race. He's 6Ks fresher, and he knows he couldn't have gone faster.
And so 3rd on the grid provisionally, number 63 Lamborghini. Tom Fleming, number 188 McLaren, up to 3rd in Q3, and this car has just done the absolute best in sector 1 look. So number 60, another of the VSR Lamborghinis, Andrea Frasinetti, quicker than anybody in sector 1, a little bit down in the middle sector, but that's another very quick looking Lamborghini. That's another brand that really didn't seem to be anywhere yesterday. But Frasinetti, who's been a quick Italian GT racer in recent seasons, looking impressive this morning.
Yeah, 3rd in the silver class as well. The silver class is the most popular class. 17 cars in that class, 4 classes in this 58 car field. But this is looking like a pretty strong lap. Can he get himself higher than 21st overall? He can't. Sector 3 was slow. Yeah. He's just setting up another lap.
10th in this part, that car. So Frasinetti showing his pace. And again, where you look at the classes, cars will rise and fall depending on who is behind them at a given point of time. So the next car to keep an eye on in Sector 1 is Laurens Leclerc, who's gone quicker than anybody. We're looking at the Tom Fleming McLaren that's third in Q3, and as you see, has done a personal best within the first sector.
2 tenths down in Sector 2, though. He'll keep pushing, and the drivers have a live delta in the car, so that's what Pepper would have been looking at as you exit Parabolica. If it's close to being better than your best, of course you finish the lap, but if it's off, then you're better to bail and decide against it. So the drivers have a feeling of if it's a good lap, but it's backed up with some very high-tech data these days.
This is Fleming into Parabolica then, down in the middle. Let's see whether he stays out, or a bit like Jordan Pepper, realises that the tyres have now lost their best, and he does indeed bail for the pit lane, and that's well, actually the flag was going to be greeting him anyway, but he does prevent the car having to do an in-lap. So in he comes, as you look at Laurens Leclerc, who was quicker than anybody in the first sector on this lap. He's got one of the Mustangs to negotiate, and he's backed out of it by the look of it. He was much slower in the middle sector, and the Santa Lock Audi is going to head for the pit lane. So there is, of course, frustration amongst the drivers that some laps are spoilt by traffic, but they're going to have to get used to it because the race is going to be just full of traffic.
Yeah, they're having to slow cars down very early in there to get straight into Parc Fermé. So I hope drivers are getting messages on the radio there, because you can attack that line where the marshal has stood and get it down to 50. A lot of drivers like to use the end of qualifying as their final chance before the race comes. But yeah, interesting session there. But overall, we've got a nice Noah's Ark formation, haven't we? 2 Mercedes from the next set of Lamborghinis from 2 McLaren. So a bit of a mix. Ferrari started strong in Q1, but then didn't seem to replicate that form in Q2 or 3.
And the time difference between Jules Gounon and here, Fabian Schiller, 86 thousandths of a second if you take their best laps. So you've got the cars going to Parc Fermé, you've also got the pole position car required, so that there is a bit of a bottleneck at pit in, as you say. So Fabian Schiller from Franck Pereira, from Ricardo Feller, top 3 in Q3. Then you've got Tom Fleming, Marvin Dees and Jordan Pepper to round out the top 6. There onto the Italian tricolore painted parking area for the Rover Pole Position Award comes Fabian Schiller, and he'll be joined by Jules Gounon and by Luca Stolz for the presentation. But yesterday we were talking about how well Mercedes AMGs were going. Well, they still are. But today you were offer the fact that there's a bit more opposition, like quite a bit more opposition. Yeah, the Lamborghinis are the one that's had the best night's sleep and have really come to the floor. 2 different teams from Mercedes and from Lamborghini, and then Garage 59, the fast McLaren team there. But Optimum were up there, weren't they, until they had that problem. That's going to be a rough race for that Optimum McLaren, because it didn't do a single time in Q3, so it will start right at the back. But great job, and Jules Gounon's lap, the 45.000, was the fastest out of anyone in qualifying. Yeah, there's another couple of cars that we lost out of Q3. I'm trying to work out who they are, because we should have been looking at 58 and only 56 set a time. Anyway, we'll try and unravel that in a moment. As posing for the cameras is Fabian Schiller. In fairness, it really ought to be Jules Gounon that gets the credit, shouldn't it? Because he was the faster of the drivers in that car, but only by 86 thousandths of a second. So it was fascinating to see how close Fabian Schiller is to Jules Gounon's time. So we'll hear no doubt from Fabian in due course. He receives the award as one of those pole position drivers. So this is the order at the end of qualifying provisionally. Bear in mind there are some cars with 10-place grid drops, and this isn't the grid necessarily, but Stolz, Gounon and Schiller the fastest from Auer, Cairoli and Engel. Mercedes AMG 1-2, Lamborghini 3-4, McLaren 5-6 with Bortolotti, Engschler, Pepper 3rd, Mitchell, Michelotto and Pereira 4th. 5th, Joseph Loke, Marvin Kirchhofer, Benji Goethe, then Adam Smalley, Dean McDonald and Louis Press. And they're also the fastest in gold. The fastest in bronze, another McLaren, Guillermo Oliveira, Miguel Ramos, Tom Fleming. And silver honours to Aston Martin, Nicolas Bach, Kobe Pauwels and Jamie Day, taking the top slot there. And out of the cars that we should have expected, the ones that missed Q3, Mikey Porter's number 5 McLaren, and 66 Alexei Nesov didn't get out in the car, the Trezor Attempto, I should say, Audi, that was looking pretty good in the hands of Max Hoffer earlier on. So question mark over why Nesov didn't go out, and that's going to, of course, affect the grid position of those cars accordingly. Real shame for the Optimum McLaren, because that had been going well in the hands early on of Largim Ali, and prior to that, James Allen. You can see the rest of the grids as we have a look. Number 10, the Panis Cabiru-Gazzo Mercedes. That's one that gets a 10-place grid drop. 36th in the times, Dante Raponge, who had a spin yesterday. Ivan Ekelchik and Baptiste Moulin. That's another that gets a 10-place grid drop. And also the Santa-Loc Audi that had Ivan Klimenko at the wheel early on. That too gets a grid drop for his speed under a red flag yesterday. So you can see the back of the grid and how there are quick cars out of position, but there's an awful lot to look forward to. That's a very, very jumbled grid indeed, and it's going to make for a really good race, that is for certain. So the Get Speed number 17 Mercedes of Lukas Stolz, Jules Gounon and Fabian Schiller takes the Rover Motor Oil Pole Position Award. Let's rejoin Alex.
Boys, congratulations. First off, let's present our Rover Pole Award, Fabienne Vulvend, brand ambassador of Rover. A much deserved pole. Congratulations, Fabienne. Let's start with you. We spoke to Jules. He said that he's a perfectionist and he thought that he could get more out of the car. How about you?
Yeah, same here. I mean, for me, it was a tricky session with traffic and stuff, and I didn't really put a good lap together, but I was lucky that these two put a good Q1 and Q2 on the board. You know, we were P3 in the first session, P1 in the second session, and that's always quite comfortable for the third driver going into the car, knowing that the car performed well in the first two runs. And obviously at the end it was messy, but it worked out, and it's good getting our first pole position here.
86 thousandths between you and P2. Just how tricky is that going to be on, between you and Jules? How tricky is it going to be when you're on that start line to get down to that first corner? Jules?
Yeah, it's always tricky. I remember here in 17, I think, or 16, my first ever race in GT World Challenge, I was starting around P40, and I remember not being super happy to take the start. Now it's a bit more comfortable thanks to those two. But, you know, it's a crazy grid, 59 cars coming into very twisty, very tight turns, so we're going to try to go through it, and then it's 3 hour full speed, and we'll see where we are.
First Mercedes pole here at Monza since 2016. You boys have done very nicely, but how tricky is it mentally and physically for a 3 hour race around the Temple of Speed?
It will be really tough because hot temperatures, and I mean, we were strong all weekend, and also in the long runs we look quite decent. So yeah, we need to stay focused and then hopefully finish it off with the first AMG victory here in Monza.
Such a strong start, boys. Best of luck for the race.
So job well done, and your Rover Motor Oil Pole Position Award winners then celebrate here at Monza. Celebration, yes, but as they've all made the point, now the serious business really begins. And again, we've touched on it, Jules Gounon reflecting the point as well, that the first chicane is absolutely crucial, and your race can be ruined there. You could make a mistake, yes, but equally you could be the innocent victim of somebody else's mistake.
Yeah, at least in pole position you dictate the braking point for the 57 cars behind you. That's the first pole position for the Get Speed team, so congratulations to them. It's the 13th pole position for Mercedes, but Mercedes have never won here at Monza before.
Which is mad, isn't it, when you think about the great success they've had.
Yeah, and it's been split. We've had 3 wins from Porsche and Audi, a couple from McLaren and Ferrari. So it's been split, but yeah, expect Mercedes to be strong this afternoon. Race start 3 o'clock local time.
So let's look at the highlights of Q3 as we had drama early on for the number 15 BMW that ran out of road. The car of Felice Gelmini, the Clio Cup champion in strife. Number 188 was looking quick, courtesy of Tom Fleming, and the Garage 59 entry in the end going fourth. But others, such as the Chevrolet Corvette, exploring just about every inch of Monza. Lorcan Hannafin getting himself in jeopardy coming through the Lesmo bends. Yannick Meckler shone early on, getting the number 3 Mercedes up to the pointy end of the times, and he would be 11th in Q3 come the very end, as off the road ran Ferrari number 8, running out of real estate again at the Lesmo Benz. David Fuminelli, another experienced driver, getting himself in trouble. The Lamborghini's looking far faster today than yesterday, now that the ante has been tweaked up, and Jordan Pepper, launching himself over curbs, would go 6th ultimately in the session, but for 3rd on the grid. Number 48, the Man-Filter Mercedes, also heading for second, but fastest the Get Speed car. Its first pole position for Lukas Stolz, Jules Gounon and Fabian Schiller.